This video marks the start of an experiment, a new training block built on old ideas. Less volume, higher frequency, and more variation. Prioritizing recovery and fatigue management to maximize hypertrophy. Here I'll be documenting the process along the way and seeing if these old school methods can change my mind on training splits. If you're new here, my name is Craig Doran. I am a strength conditioning coach with over a decade of experience coaching general population, athletes, military population, and everything in between. I have a master's in exercise science, a CSCS, all that good stuff, but most importantly, a ton of experience in trial and error on myself, in the trenches, doing what I love most, working out, experimenting on myself, finding what's the best version of doing something, getting the best results, tracking progress, trying to be the healthiest I can be, trying to be the most jacked I can be, trying to be the strongest I can be, the fastest, the most conditioned. So if you're someone that is just obsessed with all things human physiology, strength and conditioning, pushing yourself, this is a good place to be, because I'm just like you. I'm not genetically gifted. I have to actually find the most optimal ways to do things. So this channel is all about finding that way to best program, get the most optimal results while minimizing fatigue and burden on our lives, because we all have things to do. I'm a brand new dad, not a ton of time for training, but it's still a huge priority in my life and a huge passion and what I do professionally. What I'm doing is a full body every other day, 3 exercises per muscle group, 1 set each, brought to failure or 1 rep in reserve. So the reason that's different for me, I'm an upper lower guy. I am a more sports performance, athletic driven program type of guy. I've never run an old school silver era bodybuilding program with this high frequency. So I'm excited. I'm about 10 days into this and I'm already noticing some awesome results. So far, I feel amazing. I feel like I'm actually giving myself recovery. As someone who does this for a living and manages fatigue and manages everyone else's programming and nutrition and lifestyle factors, I think a lot of strength and conditioning coaches will admit that we break rules because we think we know we can break rules and we know how to break rules, but usually that just leaves us buried into a bunch of different things. And for me, at times excessive volume, even though I didn't even perceive it to be excessive volume, because in the past I've trained with even more volume. So in my mind, that wasn't even a lot of work. So I was running an upper lower conditioning, upper lower conditioning. So what is that? 5-6 days a week. Didn't feel like a lot. But again, that's why this is so different. Let's just go over the workout. I filmed one of the workout days and let's just set a baseline for this experiment and see where it takes us. And hopefully you'll follow along. All right, so here, I'm just getting set up for the day. One big piece of these full body workouts is obviously time efficiency. If you're someone who only has 30 to 60 minutes to work out, this is probably not going to be the best plan exactly. Although you could do a full body program, it's just probably gonna have less exercise variation per muscle group. So again, I'm running 3 per muscle group, and in a garage gym setup, it can be quite time consuming. So in a Globo gym with a bunch of machines, this would actually be pretty easy to rip through. However, for me, it's been an hour and a half, about hour 45 per workout. So I do my best to get in, get out. I don't like spending forever in the gym. It reminds me of those olden CrossFit days back in the barn where it all began. And I would spend hours and hours out there sweating my ass off, doing insane programs only a dead man could follow, with Olympic lifting, strength, accessory, metcons, programmed by people who had no clue about exercise science or physiology. But I was young and dumb and wanted to be Rich Froning, and I was maybe 165, 170 pounds soaking wet, borderline eating disorder, eating paleo, and gaining zero muscle mass. So I'm here to help you find ways to not do that. So anyway, that's a long tangent of saying these workouts feel very similar to that. I do like the feeling of really putting in a ton of work and like feeling exhausted after a workout. That's much different. The upper body, upper lower splits, I felt pretty fine leaving the gym. It was only like 6 exercises. The volume was higher, but for some reason, these are just a grind. So let's get into it. We're just gonna start here with a behind the neck press, which traditionally my old nerd self would be like, oh, the anterior tipping of the scapula is not gonna glide along the rib cage and all that stuff. Half of the crap you learn and all those small little things aren't gonna actually matter. What we've done in the past, what jacked people have done in the past, pre-steroid era, is probably gonna be best. So I'm entering my silver era bodybuilding phase. Behind the neck, I think that was 5 reps, taking it pretty close to failure. That's my first shoulder exercise. Next up is going to be a cable lateral delt raise. Trying to hit the middle delt here, get that deep stretch cross body. For high leverage rather position. Gonna take this to failure on both sides. Then we're gonna move into decline, or an incline bench, but decline for my body, dumbbell lateral raise. This is gonna put a little bit more stretch in that bottom position. I have been running these the last year and I really like them. You can really just get a crazy stretch in that bottom. So bring that to failure. Okay, now we're on chest. We're gonna do a wide grip bench press. Again, I've barely used a free barbell in the last 2 years of my life just from working out in the apartment gym. So this is pretty new to me. I'm absolutely horrible at barbell benching. Upper body is not a strength of mine. Hence, prioritizing the upper body lifts, putting them first. Also trying to lower cardiovascular demand and fatigue intra-workout. Bring that pretty close to failure. That's only like 185. So that's what years of CrossFit and neglecting upper body hypertrophy will do for you. Incline bench, targeting that upper chest, really gonna try to get that stretch in that bottom position. Slightly lighter load, obviously, and we will take this pretty close to failure. Third chest exercise is gonna be a cable fly. Setup's not ideal here, just trying to walk these out. So I'm not sure if there's gonna be a cap on how much I can lift here. Getting out is even worse than getting into this position. So here we're gonna move to biceps. First exercise, extended shoulder, extended elbow, maximal stretch position in that end range motion there. I haven't been running the cables on this exercise just because in a gym, I'm not gonna set this up. If you're that guy that sets stuff like this up in the regular gym, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably having a thought to myself about that. So I've been just using dumbbells in this position, which honestly, I may go towards just to create a little bit more efficiency in this routine. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to position these exercises and just get the most out of the workout without taking forever. So if the setup can be easier and I can do multiple exercises in one position, then that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, we got a preacher supinated curl here. Try to bring that cable to get a nice stretch in that bottom position. Then I'm gonna move into a pronated preacher position, so palm down, focusing on a different part of the muscle here. And that's going to be an underlying theme of this program is, since it's only one set with 3 different variations, we are focusing on recruiting more motor units, more muscle fibers in these different variations. Some of the latest research is showing diminishing returns with interset volume. So the advantage or the benefit of the exercise diminishes over the course of the set. So in theory, mentally and physically, starting with a fresh exercise, you're gonna hit different and new motor units and muscle fibers. And just hitting muscle fibers that may not be hit in different variations. So just trying to cover all of our bases. This is really more probably an advanced lifter would benefit from, when you've tapped out basically 80% of the most of the muscle mass you can achieve in given movements. Doing these smaller variations can help with that. But again, that's why I'm experimenting with this. So this is my 4th exercise for biceps. I'm really only doing 3, but this is a barbell curl, probably pretty much similar to the preacher curl in position. But why not? Who doesn't want big biceps? All right, now we're gonna move into triceps. This is a JM press. Really like this exercise. Get a nice deep stretch in the bottom. Start with a neutral grip, maybe a little bit more narrow. It's not gonna be quite like a narrow grip bench press or a skull crusher. You're gonna try to leave your elbows high and parallel to your torso, and just, again, make sure you really get that deep stretch in the bottom. Next tricep will be an overhead single arm. Utilizing unilateral variations or single arm variations obviously has a plethora of advantages in like a sports performance setting, but for hypertrophy focus, we'll recruit some more motor units doing it this way. And again, it's a slight variation from your traditional bilateral positions. My mind and my intent is geared towards hypertrophy. So although a lot of these principles and theories do apply to sports performance and athleticism and training for, tactical populations or what have you, they are similar. There's going to be minor differences. So in the context of this experiment, this is really pretty much what I'm talking about. Again, close to failure, if not failure. Then we have our 3rd exercise, a tricep push down. And we're gonna move into lower body, utilizing a hand-supported safety bar squat, aka half field squat, with my heels elevated, really to target just my quads. I'm trying to stabilize and exercise as much as I can, and in a garage gym with, heavy squats, it can be difficult to do due to just the stability component of a free barbell, weighted exercise. So trying to eliminate that. I'm not training stability. I am training stability by getting stronger and creating more force, but that's a wholly different discussion. I am just trying to stabilize the exercise as much as I can to target the tissue that I'm intending to grow. Again, the big thing on this program, I'm minimizing, or really I've been doing, or been trying to tell people and coach this way for a long time, is that warm-ups are really largely unnecessary for a lot of, these middle repetition ranges. Unless you're power lifter, maxing out strength, Olympic lifting, what have you. A lot of times people just do too much volume leading up to their working sets for hypertrophy. Got to close the garage door. Crank up the music. This safety bar is, I believe, 68 pounds, so I don't know, do the math. I think it might be over 400, 408. Again, I've seen some pretty good gains already on the weight on the bar for this. I believe I've only had about 3 to 4 sessions, and think I even took a jump 10 pounds heavier than this. So been seeing some nice strength gains as well on this so far. This is RFE, rear foot elevated, hand supported split squat. Again, creating more stability in the movement with that hand supported position. This is a mid-range, so the squat was a deep knee flexion with the hip flex. So this is about a mid-range hip flexed, knee flexed position for the quad. Again, just trying to choose slightly different exercise variations just to accommodate different muscle fibers in the same muscle group. Last session, I did split this up just from the cardiovascular demand and the fatigue element. Once you get heavy enough on these split squats, I would sometimes recommend just resting in between legs because you're gonna have a carryover fatigue effect in that second leg that might not allow you to hit the same output. This is a sissy squat, so I'm trying to focus on a hip extended and knee flexed position. You'll notice I cheat a little bit on the way up, flex my hip, trying to scoop my hips in just to get it up. It's super difficult to maintain that position on the way up. I do my best. This is a nice variation for sissy squat though, I found to load with some sort of stability in the exercise. I just added the heel wedge. I've never really done that. It was nice. And then we're gonna move into a single leg RDL. I have been doing a barbell RDL, but I think it's a lot of barbell work in a garage gym setup for this full body setup. So like instead in a gym, you could just use like for squats, like a hack squat or a leg extension, or a 45-degree hyper or a GHD for posterior. Like, so my options are limited in a program like this in a garage gym. So I'm trying to reduce fatigue any way I can while still getting the maximum results I can from this type of program. So choosing a single leg variation is just gonna be a little bit less fatiguing than a heavy barbell RDL. Although I didn't love this setup just from the foot placement with the mat. I kind of was playing around with it. But as for the straps, and you'll notice belt and knee sleeves in my squats, again, I'm a believer that if the tools help you achieve the goal or intended training stimulus you're after, then by all means use them. Especially if you're an advanced lifter, intermediate to advanced, maybe not beginner athletes. I'm not gonna strap a belt or knee sleeves on them to just learn how to goblet squat or do rows. But once you reach a certain point, adding in these tools to lift heavier weights, create more force, get more hypertrophy adaptations on the target tissue you're after, that's completely fine. I'm not trying to train my grip in a single leg RDL, so I'm gonna use straps. I've pulled well over 500 pounds, never failed a deadlift due to a grip, and I've never trained grip exclusively. So the grip police and the strap police and the knee sleeve police, again, go with the form police. So this is I believe my second variation, my second set of calf raises, did a toes in position. Again, slightly varying the position, hopefully trying to hit some new fibers. That's the beauty of this program too, is like you can really prioritize the muscle groups you want to focus on and then maintain or slowly grow other tissues or muscle groups that you're happy with or okay with just growing slowly. So as long as we're hitting a muscle twice a week or once a week with more than 5 sets, but ideally twice a week, we're gonna be good to go on that. Again, this is 3 times per week, 3 sets. So this is a long row, first lat back exercise, and we move into lat pull down. Get a nice big stretch there. Nice wide grip. And we move into a pullover for our third lat exercise. Focusing on keeping my ribs down here, low back in contact with the bench, just to get a deeper, bigger stretch on the lats. Since they do attach to your lower back, arching your lower back's just going to basically get you more range of motion in this exercise without actually stretching the lats. So I'm doing my best, but obviously I'm super fatigued and wrecked at this point. All right, second hamstring exercise from the RDL is a hamstring curl. These are okay. Home gyms are never gonna have a great setup for quad extension or hamstring curl, but this is a good seated position. I really focus on just getting in a deep hip flexion position, which is gonna put that hamstring on stretch, get a deep stretch at the top of the range of motion. Stiff-legged deadlift, an exercise I haven't really implemented a ton. I'm more of an RDL person. So this weight I was really just feeling out. I don't think it was heavy enough. But again, don't do the stiff legs that much. I did enjoy them though, felt good. Finish off with a little cable crunch. Train your abs heavy. There's no reason to do just cute exercises on just abs when you train everything else heavy. Train your abs exactly like you would any other muscle. So that's a brief overview of my full body, every other day, 1 set, taken to failure, 3 exercises per muscle group. And we're gonna run this for at least a month. And I'm gonna give you the honest truth. These workouts are daunting. So far, they're a little bit demanding on that front, like mentally heading into them. I know it's gonna be a pretty demanding workout and it's taking an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes. So I'm still working on making this a little bit more efficient. I know not everyone is gonna be able to do this in their workout. However, there are ways to reduce this to just 1 to 2 exercises per muscle group to shorten this out, and you could still keep that 3 days a week or every other day format with a little bit higher frequency. And I will be modifying this into a hybrid concurrent training model in about a month or so. So after this phase, hypertrophy building, muscle building, I am gonna take this full body approach, these new theories, into a hybrid concurrent model and test that and see where that takes us. Because traditionally, like I said, I was upper, lower, mixed with the hybrid model. I think I was just crushing way too much volume, and I'm really interested to see where this takes me in this phase and carry that over into a more concurrent training model. So I'm gonna keep you guys updated. Subscribe if you wanna follow along this phase and more experiments in the future. Again, I'm a passionate strength and conditioning coach. I do this for a living, but I'm really an athlete at heart, a mediocre one at that, but I'm constantly striving to build muscle, get stronger, get faster, build my endurance, do crazy things in the fitness world. So to have you here means a lot.